Hello everyone, welcome to today's podcast episode. Today we'll be talking about 3 things that you can do for a better birth. It may be controversial as to what the top 3 things are, but these are really just the top 3 things that I believe impacted my experience the most. And this is like a very broad topic, but I wanted to share some things that you can do even before you conceive. So you could really start to kind of figure out what you want for your birth experience if you're not 100% sure. I think it's really important that we learn about what our bodies can do and learn about the different options that are out there for us. I think learning about what birth really is first is a great baseline. So first and foremost, the first thing that you can do, even if you're not pregnant right now, is read birth stories. Natural birth stories. Stories that have happened in the home, stories that have happened undisturbed, a story that will help you see how physiologic birth can look. And a couple great places to do that are through podcasts and reading books. So you can listen and you can read, and there's a lot out there. A few of my favorite sources being Ina May's Guide to Childbirth and Ina May's Spiritual Midwifery. Those 2 books have really great birth stories in them, and it just shows that women's bodies are so smart. Like, nature is so perfect, and there is a huge variety of stories in those 2 books, so I highly recommend checking them out. And some other sources now are podcasts, which are very convenient. We all drive to work and are driving all day, going to places. So a great place to listen, at least my favorite at the moment, have been Free Birth Society and Indie Birth. And both of them share a lot of great birth stories. And the reason why I love these birth stories are because they're different. Some are attended by midwives, some are free births, which it means that they're birthing on their own. And even if you don't have the vision of birthing on your own, or you don't have the vision of midwifery care, these births can just seriously paint a picture. Like, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to visualize what birth can look like. Because normally what happens is when we're pregnant, everybody wants to put their birth stories onto us. And normally, usually in this time period, a lot of those are hospital births, and a lot of those births don't really go to plan. So what that is doing right out the gate is creating a story, whether we realize it or not, that birth is either hard, or that we don't have options in birth, or that our bodies may not be able to do it. I think that it's a really great idea to first see that firsthand and get a feel for what that could look like by really reading and listening to other people's experiences that do it physiologically. The second way that you can really prepare for the birth that you want, and to get more clear on that, is childbirth education. There are a few different classes out there that are very popular, and my favorite from my experience so far is Active Birth by Janet Balaskas. However, she's based in Britain, so I don't exactly know what is available for us in the United States, but it's a very powerful way. It's a very powerful way to learn about childbirth education, because she's really just focusing on the natural process of the body, and that can support those birth stories. We could start to paint a picture now about what's actually happening in the body in those birth stories and how it's all kind of panning out. And I almost feel like learning about birth before learning about the anatomy and the hormones makes it even easier, because now we have this first layer of this is what birth can look like, and then that second layer is let's really think about what is going on here. And so Active Birth by Janet Balaskas and the Bradley method, which is husband-coached childbirth, are 2 really great ways to get to know your body and what this process is. And Of course, there are other like independent childbirth educators. Indie Birth has a really great Pay What You Can 13 Moons childbirth education series. So I just encourage you to explore the different options. Also, learning about these options before you even get pregnant, even if you don't know when you would even get pregnant, like even if you don't have a partner right now or you don't see it in the foreseeable future, I encourage you to look out for these things. We're not just explained the process by many people anymore, because a lot of people don't have physiological births. So we need to learn how amazing our bodies are. And that's what I'm hoping I can kind of share right now, is like, let's explore that before we're in that last trimester of pregnancy. And the third thing that I highly, highly suggest doing is looking at diet and nourishment. And diet is a very like flexible word in my mind, but I know that typically it's not. Diet is just like what you eat. Like, what do you eat on a regular basis? How can you begin to get more nutrients in to really sustain a pregnancy that is thriving? You will be growing an entire organ. You will be growing an entire baby. We don't want to just be surviving when we're in pregnancy, not really understanding how to eat, how many calories we need to take in, and all of that. From my personal experience, my first pregnancy, my nourishment was not good. I would rate it like a 4 out of 10. I didn't know anything, and I don't even really think that I upped my calorie intake that much. And I could see by the pictures, when I was 30 to 35 weeks pregnant, I didn't look like I even gained an ounce on the rest of my body. And so to me, my baby came early. I went into premature labor, and it was probably because Lila would not get enough nutrients on the inside. She needed to come outside to get those nutrients. In my second experience, nourishment was key to me. I wanted to make sure I had a strong amniotic sac. I wanted to learn about the calorie intake that I really needed and what foods to get those calories and nutrients from. And so a way that I did this was studying the Brewer's diet, and I tried to follow it to the best of my ability. Of course, there were some days where I was under the calorie goal. Some days I was probably right on it, but it really gave me an outline of what I should have been eating. I don't come from a family where women are nourishing each other and food is a really big deal and we cook for each other. Like, that's not something that my family does, so I had to kind of take that into consideration and learn about how to kind of do that for myself. And it was a really great experience. Lots of research, but I did learn pre-pregnancy, so I felt like I could kind of ease into that once I got pregnant. And it was very, very helpful to have this kind of like idea in my mind of what I wanted before I even conceived. I hope that these 3 ways of preparing for a better birth resonated. If anything comes to mind, please drop it down below. But of course, these are 3 that come to my mind first, because this has to do with some of my experience. But there are other ways to prepare, of course. There are probably a different big 3 for somebody else, but these definitely are my top 3 ways to prepare for a better birth. And in part 2, we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about what you may feel or look for after learning about these 3 things. You guys let me know, like, what order of importance do you think ways to prepare for birth go? Because I think we need to start getting a little bit more clear on what this all means for women and where we're heading when it comes to birth. So leave your feelings down below. I would love to hear what you think. And thank you guys so much for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.